Hi, my name is Krista Schnarr, and I chose to debate Donald Kavinis, and I'm arguing side B. Israel's attacks and policies against the Palestinian people do arise to the level of genocide. The first thing I want to address is the definition of genocide, which you had correct, but the definition of ethnic group is a community or population made up of people who share a common cultural background or descent. These commonalities can include race, religion, national origin, language, tribal heritage, and culture. So by your definition, that would make the Holocaust and the Rwanda genocide. Neither one of those would be genocide. So once we're past that, I want to talk about war because your quote was wars are continuously fought. But I would just like to check the definition of war and see if you would consider this a war still. We look at the square footage of Israel. Israel is 8,630, or square miles, excuse me, square miles. In perspective, Phoenix is 517 square miles, and Gaza is 141 square miles. Within that 141 square miles, they've been within a fence, and 2.2 million Palestinians in 141 square miles makes it the most densest populated place on Earth. Within that area, there's 645 IDF checkpoints surrounding it. And inside of it, if you have a medical issue, you have to fill out paperwork to try to leave, and a lot of times you don't get that, and you will die waiting to get approved to leave the area. They've been restricted of freedom of movement for the last 16 years. 80% of Palestinians prior to October 7th relied on humanitarian aid. There was a 100% conviction rate of Palestinians. 1% of complaints against the Israeli forces were ever heard. 7% of settler violence, I'll get to what that is, was ever heard. There was 8,000 Palestinians and 200 Palestinian children that were held in custody with no charges and no court dates coming up, just unlawfully held in prison. Hundreds of mosques have been destroyed leading up to like April 2023. They had numerous attacks on mosques that the UN was calling them out for and telling them to stop. There's like 223 mosques destroyed, 289 damaged. On July 4th and 3rd and 4th, 2023, there was an attack on civilians. 12 Palestinians were killed, 4 of them children. And then throughout 2023, they went an attack on West Bank, and they killed 500 adults, 110 children, and destroyed 460 housing units. And what they did on there was they actually built 13,000 new residents and began moving Jewish people in where they had just killed all of those civilians and destroyed their homes. So that moves me on to talk about the audacity of calling out South Africa for not condemning or co-signing the arrest of Putin for war crimes. And I think that we should refer to the Geneva Convention, which that is, Rome statutes. It governs all of criminal international courts. And take a look at some stats here. So I first wanted to let it know that as of right now, less than 500 IDF soldiers or Israeli police have been killed in this conflict. So the daily death toll, Israel's attack on Palestine is the deadliest attack there has been in the 21st century. And to put in perspective with Putin and Ukraine, so the daily death toll in Ukraine is 43.9 people a day. And Iraq is 50.8, Syria is 96.5, Sudan 51.6, Afghanistan 23.8, Yemen 15.8. The average daily death toll in Gaza is 250 people a day. And if you only took into consideration the West Bank, it would be 330 people killed per day. And also another thing to put in perspective, in the Auschwitz camp, there was 35,000 people killed in a year, and that was recorded. And in the last 3 months, we've had 31,000 Palestinians killed, to give you more perspective. If you want to compare Putin's record, so Putin in 2 years has killed roughly 10,000 civilians. Israel in 3 months has killed in the first 3 months, killed 31,497 civilians. Putin has killed less than 600 children in 2 years. Israel has killed 12,345 children in 3 months. They've also killed 113 journalists, 300 healthcare workers, 250 humanitarian workers, 6,471 women. So I think, again, that we need to look at the definition of war crimes and see who actually is and needed to be charged here. We have crimes against humanity, considering there's 48 attacks on healthcare, 24 hospitals were destroyed, and 78 ambulances were destroyed by October 15th, 2023. They have 342 schools. 90% of the people now are displaced from their homes. They've destroyed 70,000 housing units and damaged 250 more. 600 attacks on healthcare. So according to the Geneva Convention, that you're not allowed to attack hospitals, schools, any of those, even if it's preventive measures or as a military involvement. So that's a crime. Next, you're not allowed to move people into an occupied territory. So killing hundreds of Palestinians and burning their homes and building housing developments over top of them and placing Jewish people in there that are attacking them. And the settler violence, that is only 7% is heard by the courts, is also a crime against humanity. You're not allowed to forcibly displace elderly, people with disabilities, or patients within hospitals. That's another crime. And then the death toll in Palestinian accounts 92% civilian. It's 92% civilian, and the majority of the attacks in Palestine are not war attacks. They're just killing civilians. And so now that we've established ethnicity and we understand that the definition of genocide, the other part is that we have to show that this is done because they are Palestinian. And so for this, I would like to take into consideration Israel's Deputy Defense Minister, Rabbi Eli Ben-Dahom. Palestinians are beasts. They are not human. Israel Minister of Culture, Marie Regeis. I am happy to be a fascist. Benjamin Netanyahu. We must defend ourselves against the wild beast. Send Gaza back to the Middle Ages. Those who are against us, there's nothing to be done. We need to pick up an axe and cut off his head. Israel Defense Minister, Avigdor Lieberman, on Israel's Arab minority Palestinians. I definitely think that this fits the level of genocide, and I hope that you take into consideration some of these things that you've heard today. Thanks.